You are listening to the Independent Dealer Podcast with hosts Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Independent Dealer Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Dealership Consulting.
Yeah, look at this.
We got a whole new background.
Holy cow, we're together.
Yeah, if you're on our YouTube channel, you see that we are not sitting in our offices 2,000 miles away from each other. We are at a 20 group meeting.
Yeah, the Four Seasons at Dallas. Or Las Colinas.
Yeah, beautiful property.
Super nice. Great 20 group as usual. Awesome group of dealers that we really learned a lot of stuff from.
Yeah, we had a great day and a half getting together with our peers and talking about all of our key performance metrics. We had some great specific training on things. And we had some really, really good lunch and dinner conversations that I have a full page full of notes that I'm taking home to my dealership and I'm going to implement. Great stuff.
It is. And, our 20 group kind of went down in members and now it's starting to head back up. So if you want in, you need to get in touch with us as soon as possible. But it's really interesting, the new dynamic with new dealers and how you can just learn so much when you haven't heard the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it's so great. New dealers, old dealers, and just the reminder of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
That's what's so funny is I look at these notes that I take home and it's like, I've done these notes before and I know all the stuff on here that I should be doing. But when you come here and you get reminded of it and you have peers verify, oh yeah, that is really important.
Well,
or, oh yeah, I should have been doing that. And I'm going to double down on it.
And just at lunch today, you and I were talking about, some of your sales problems. I was like, well, are you accounting for it? And you're like, I don't know. I don't know my numbers like that.
So funny, man, because it's the same conversation I would have with anyone. Yeah. Well, what's your numbers? Duh. Why have I not done that? I know that's the answer to my problem, and yet for some reason you can't see the forest through the trees.
You can't hold yourself accountable. You can't hold your staff accountable if you don't have the numbers to present to yourself or to your people. And that's what's great about 20 group. The numbers are there. All you have to do is look at them, dissect them, get your peers to do the same thing, which we do the whole time.
Yep.
And what's funny about that is, my goals for this meeting were to drop my recon, to drop my policy expense. Mm-hmm. And guess what my goals are for my next 20 group? The same dang things.
So what did you take away, Luke? I know you have some specific recon knowledge and notes that you took away. Yeah. Let's share with the community a couple of our takeaways from this weekend so you guys can maybe learn from some of it.
Yeah, so, I thought for a long time I was a recon guru, right?
Yeah, time to line.
I've taught that. I know what I'm doing. 2021 showed us that the processes can break down when you lose staff, people who've been doing it for you for years.
Huge.
And then your recon costs go up and your time to line just goes out the window. You're not expecting what's been done. Mm-hmm. It's just a nightmare. So I'm having to reinvent that process. And the first thing I'm going to look at is, am I over reconning my cars? And everybody always tells me that I'm over reconning my cars, but I want my cars to be perfect, almost like new. But do we need to paint every bumper? Do we need to fix every scratch? Do we need to fix every little spot that maybe a cigarette burn hit the upholstery? Do we need to do all these things? And the answer is probably no. And so if I can knock $100, $150 off of every recon, that's real money in the long run.
Yeah.
If you're selling 400 or 500 cars a year, that adds up quick, right?
And what's that opinion, Luke? Do you do those things because you feel like you need to sell the car? Or do you do those things because it's personal to you? It's personal.
It's taken me a long time to understand that it's really pride in what I'm selling. It's not going to sell any more cars. My customers aren't going to notice the things that I notice. So I've got to determine, how can I save some money? And it's even something as different as, hey, instead of putting this type of tire on a car, is there a tire that we can put on that's $15 to $20 cheaper per tire, but still is a brand new tire? Yeah. And the customers don't know the difference. Yeah. And is it going to make that big a difference in ride? And if you do that over and over and over, it's just wasting money.
Yeah, and you could argue if you're dealing with a 2021, Maserati, you want to put the right tires on.
That's
but when you're dealing with a 2011 Silverado,
it doesn't matter.
It probably doesn't matter as much to that customer. What they want to know is the car reliable, and is it going to run the note for me? And am I going to get to work in the morning?
That is number one. That's number one. And one thing that Ben brought up that honestly I've been thinking totally in the opposite direction of him. I don't know who's right, but Ben's got a lot of experience at this, so I'm gonna say Ben's right here.
Yeah, probably accurate.
And he's got numbers to back up what he's done.
Yeah,
and so it's flipping the recon process kind of on its head.
Okay.
So what we would normally do is let a C-Tech checklist every car.
Yeah. Smart, because you're like, well, he's a C-Tech. He just, it's just an hourly job. I don't want.
That's right.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Check the boxes.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it appears that's not the way to do it. It's to get one of your best techs, if not your best tech, to rack everyone. And he takes one day as soon as those cars get delivered, because I typically get 10 cars at a time, 8 to 10. They land. The next 2 days, my A tech, or however long it takes, is actually checklisting every car, diagnosing those cars, and then he is saying, all right, parts guy or inventory manager, this is what this car needs. Yeah. Take your part hangers that are your C-Techs and get the job done. And so I've been doing just the opposite, and I can tell you it's not working.
Right.
So I think this is something that can help.
Because when you do the opposite, you have a C-Tech that comes in here and says, I did an inspection, I heard a rattle, we need to replace the ball joints with no further diagnosis. Or whereas, and then the A-Tech gets in and he's like, no, stupid, it's not the ball joints, we need to look at it longer, I need an hour diag on this, or I need a half hour to go drive this thing. Whereas had that A-Tech had just done the inspection in the first place,
we wouldn't be doing double the work.
Yeah, he would have been doing it the whole time and said, hey, no, we didn't have to order those ball joints. What we should have done was get, the struts or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can see that if your inspection is going to be a true inspection, you would want to take it all you'd want an accurate diagnosis.
You know how much time this is going to save just from the A-Tech having to leave what he's doing to go help the C-Tech diagnose something that he was going to have to do anyway. I believe we're wasting hours every week in this, and hopefully this will help fix some of my problems.
And to sell an A-Tech on the fact that this is the best use of their time, and you don't have to comp them. It'll pay, an hour or two flat, whatever your pay plan is. But that this is the best thing for them, even though they might think it's below them.
I think it's the best thing for the company. I think you can explain it that it's the best thing for the A-Tech. And he's still doing all the diag, so I think it's still going to be. I think it's going to be fine. It's just going to speed up my process.
And it's easy to have that one person, because then you go to that A-Tech and you teach him what is allowable, what is not allowable.
Exactly.
So he's not looking for stuff to put on. He's not replacing every single air filter and every cabin air filter and every wiper blade because it pays a quick flat. You teach him those things, so that way you have one guy who's accountable for not padding, repair orders. And
when we talk about recon, one thing, Buckeye, Buckeye's our sponsor here. One of the great things, one of the great products that I use that Buckeye does is PSI.
Yeah, post-sale inspection. Okay.
And so instead of giving Mannheim $150 every time I buy a car, or paying Deal Shield $150, $175 a car, I'm reinsuring that money myself. I'm reinsuring that process. Okay. And
so instead of post-sale inspection, this is post-sale insurance.
That's all it is.
So what do you do?
So I put away $150 or so I think it's $150 every car we buy.
Every car you buy. You're putting $150 into your reinsurance company.
And so when I do buy a car that is red light, where the transmission's bad, and I get it home and I've got to put that transmission in it, I can pull that money back out of my reinsurance company and just fix the car and move on. It's not a cost to my dealership, because we have already been putting that money
reserving for it.
Yeah. So it's a great product.
It's tax deductible when you reserve for it.
That's right.
When it comes back in,
it's not an expense. It comes back in. It fixes the car. You're not up in value of the car.
Okay.
Well, you're up in value of the car, but it's not real money. It's already been accounted for. So it's just a way for you to take some of that money back from ADESA, back from Cox, back from all these big players that are taking your money. And honestly, if you've got to do a PSI through them and try to get reimbursed, that could be a headache too, right?
Yeah, it is.
This makes
for every reason to deny it. I know that.
This makes the process easier. Get with Buckeye; they can teach you how to do it, and it's a great process that I would recommend. Great product I'd recommend for everybody out there.
Innovative.
Yeah,
right. I don't know how many other people do that, but
Jason
does it.
Jason at Buckeye just really thinks outside the box on these things, and it comes up with ways for us to make money. And it's a great product.
That, Luke, it leads me into thinking about, I had a thought during this, and I know I threw it against the wall a little bit and you pushed it back, but I'm starting to think that the mileage on the odometer of a car is not that important. And hear me out. I would freak out if the car got up into the 130, 180s, right? And what I'm finding is nowadays, I'm finding 2016s, 2015s, really, really new body styles with 170,000 miles, be it Uber or DoorDash or whatever reason these cars have a ton of miles. But what it does is it makes that new body style affordable for my customers. So they can look out there and say, wow, that's a new body style, Fusion or a new body style, whatever. I want that Chrysler 200 or 300 with that new body style. I can't afford one with 50,000 miles. But if it's got 180 or 190, now it's in my ballpark, right?
I'm going to go the total opposite on this one, Jeff. I think mileage matters so much to collections, to charge off percentages, charge off rates.
But it's not the mileage that matters, it's the durability of the car.
Right, but
you're saying mechanical failure.
Mechanical failure is going to happen the higher miles you have.
But I would argue that the mechanical failure is still going to happen at 130. I think a lot of these cars at 130, you're doing a transmission. You're maybe replacing an engine because it seems like every make and model has got a bad engine.
I think 130 is a lot different than 180. Because this is the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. I know our customers as buy here, pay here customers typically drive more than your normal customer. So if you look across the board, if you just take your repos the next year and average out how many miles they're driving a year, I think you'll come up with about 24,000 miles a year compared to the normal 12 to 15 that most people drive. Okay. Now, some of our buy here, pay here customers will drive 50 to 60,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
But that's abnormal. So what I say is, if I'm financing the car for 4 years or 3.5 or whatever it is, let's back into this. So if I'm financing for 4 years and they're driving 24,000 miles a year, that car needs to last for 96,000 miles.
Okay.
So if I'm selling a car with 100,000 miles, at the end of 4 years, it's going to have 196 on it. Did it break during that time?
Probably.
Of course, it's going to break at some point. But if I'm selling one with 80,000 miles, I can bring that 196 down to 176. If I'm selling with 60,000 miles, I can bring it down again, right? So by the time it gets to the end of it, it's done. It's time to go away. Now, cars do last longer today. They do last longer.
Right. But my argument would be, at the end of its life, it's got 190,000 miles. But guess what? Now it's also a 10-year-old car. So it's been exposed to the elements. It's been beat up. It's been, you might have a lot more of like the wear and tear items that just get worn out by salt and rust and corrosion. So I would say a 3 or 4 year old car with 180,000 miles might go to the 250 with another engine.
It may.
You may put in an engine and a transmission, but guess what? You're going to do that on those 100,000 mile cars also.
The other thing I worry about is not just the engine and transmission, because probably most engines and transmissions today can last 200,000 miles. A Chevrolet transmission is not going to last that long. We know that. But, a Honda engine is going to last that long. A Toyota engine is going to last that long. Probably transmissions that hook to both of those. And you got to worry about wear items. Next thing you know, you got all these body pieces that are broken, and you got struts that are just worn completely out. You got ball joints. You got all these other things that really cost money too that you don't think about. I don't know. I don't know that right answer. I've done the model you're talking about before, and that's kind of where we ended up getting. Why not? I mean,
I'm going to get a handful of high mileage cars, and we'll see what happens. And I'll static pool those.
Sure. You've got to sell it to the customer. I think you've got to shorten the term a little bit.
But I think they're okay with it because they're like, hey, I'm getting a new body style. And I say, hey, I'm giving you a warranty, and you just bought an upgraded service contract. So when that engine goes out at 300,000 miles, we're going to get you another one. Well, in fact, it's probably the second engine in that car anyway, so it probably really doesn't have 300,000 miles on that engine.
Well, let's make sure that the warranty we're selling our customers, or the service contract we're selling our customers, is okay to have those many miles on their car.
Yeah.
So
if it's ours.
If it's ours, it should be fine.
Of course, it's your Buckeye.
Yeah. So make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, because I believe that could get you in trouble.
Yeah. I hear you. We'll try it out.
The one thing that was said so many times in every 20 group we've ever been to, there's no one way to do this business.
Yeah.
And if you don't try things, if you don't listen to other dealers, you're going to keep doing the same thing you're doing and never experience the other way to make some money.
Yeah, and that reminds me of another thing the guys from Agora came and presented to us, and he said something interesting. He said, what's your moat? What's your moat? What moat do you have around your dealership?
What do you use to protect your castle? Yeah.
That could be it. It could be that, hey, man, my moat is I'm going to get you the newest body style, and you're going to look like you're balling in a 2018, but your friends don't got to know that it's got 250,000 miles on it. It just looks like a 2018, Chrysler 300 or Charger, and you're rolling, and that's fine because I'm getting the eyeballs in for those people that don't care that it's got some mileage on the odometer. Whereas Luke's Moat might be, hey, I'm selling you a car and it's going to be mint.
Yeah, it's going to last.
Every body panel, every seat, this is something you're going to hold on to like your wallet. Maybe that's your moat.
That might be my moat, but we do have to protect our dealerships because there are companies, large companies full of cash out there looking to put us out of business. Carvana, Vroom, CarMax, these are publicly funded companies, and J.D. Bauer to that point.
They got a lot of money.
They got a lot of money, y'all, and you got to distinguish yourself. And if it's your customer service, if it's your ease of approval, whatever it is, make sure you write down what your moat is and really concentrate on it. Don't jump the moat.
Yeah.
If you gotta do something, let down the drawbridge so you can walk across it instead of starting.
I also think too, put yourself out of business before someone else does.
Oh yeah.
And we talked about this through COVID a lot, is put yourself out of business. So again, don't be so scared that you think you have this moat and you can't change it. You can redesign that thing at any time.
Sure.
So don't get so entrenched in your way that, I can't remote deliver, I can't switch my CRM, or I can't switch my DMS, or I don't want to go to a different leads company, or I don't want to fire all my sales staff and start over.
Yeah.
Don't get so worried. It's like, no, you got to continually be reinventing yourself. This is not a set it and forget it business.
And if COVID has taught us anything, it's that.
Yeah.
You got to be nimble. You got to be quick.
Sure. And I get so scared about I'm just barely figuring out this CRM. Why would I switch to another one? It's like, well,
it might be the reason
it's not servicing you. Yeah. You're just going to keep trying to push this boulder up a hill forever. Maybe you're on the wrong hill.
Yeah, or the boulder's too big. And that happens. And so you just make sure, whatever you're doing, track it. As we talked about before. Track it, experiment with it, train, Jeff.
Yeah, that was another big thing that hit me today is training, role-playing with all your salesmen, with all your porters, your detailers, your mechanics, your collection staff. Everybody has got to be trained. And again, it comes down to us working in the business and not on the business.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of us we're so involved. Mm-hmm. And as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we are so involved in our business, we do have to be the trainer. We've got to go out there and train our head tech to do the checklist exactly how we want it. Because we were the ones who originally built that checklist.
And then guess what? 3 weeks later, we got to go train them again.
You probably should train them every week. Hey, why did all of a sudden our recon last week $800 and this week it's $1,300? Well, somebody else is doing the checklist.
That's because we're putting brakes on everything.
Well, what are we doing?
Why are we doing brakes on everything?
Yeah, didn't you know you have a measurement to do every brake pad?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm supposed to measure. I just can't eyeball it?
Yeah. I just wanted to pad my repair order. Yeah. And so the same thing with your salesmen, right? We're training them constantly because bad habits creep into people's dialogue, right?
Bad habits, mood,
laziness,
mood, freaking family problems, money problems. All this creeps into everybody.
Yeah. Or they use one line and it lands one time.
And say, that's
my new line. I'm going to start saying it.
They ask one customer if they had any money, and they said, well, no, I've got $300 down. And they broom them, and they go down the street and put $3,000 down.
Yeah.
So it's everybody has to be asked the same thing, exactly the same all the time, and you should be working that process. You should have that process written down, and you should be training on your salespeople every week.
Yeah, so I really think there's a proportionate amount of working on your business, right? So we come to 20 Group, and I spend a day and a half learning about the business and getting ideas and getting things, and I go back really fired up, right? Tomorrow morning, my staff's going to hate me because I'm going to come in with a million ideas, and I'm going to shotgun all of them, and by 12 o'clock, I'm going to be back to answering the phones and opening the mail, and I'm going to be out moving cars around on the lot because I don't like the way it's working. I'm going to get back into the mundane. It's very, very hard to stay high level and stay working on the business when you're at the business. And I feel like there should be like a 1-to-1 ratio. Like if I'm away for training for a day and a half, I should have another day and a half where I either don't go to the car lot or I lock myself in my office. And I work on the business instead of getting sucked into the day-to-day.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard, and you probably have to not go to the dealership to get that done properly. But it's all you got to find. I was reading this book a couple books ago, and it was talking about find the best time you're productive, right? And everybody wakes up and has a different part of their day. Your best productivity may be first thing in the morning when you wake up. So you should do what you're talking about from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Yeah.
But then at 11, you could go out and work in the lot.
Yeah.
Because your brain doesn't have to function as highly during that time where you're moving cars around doing something like that. So you can kind of turn your brain off, just do it, right? Yeah. Then you know that after lunch, you have a time where you can really focus again. So then maybe you get back on it. Yeah. So make sure you know when you're most productive. And when you're most productive, do the work on your business.
The most important work during the most productive time.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, I think we definitely, sometimes we can get that backwards because we show up at the car lot.
And we got to put out fires.
And we're answering emails and we're putting out fires and we're getting so sucked into that thing where it's like, if I do know that if I show up a couple hours early at the car lot in those first 2 to 3 hours, I'm not distracted. I can really knock out like high level stuff and be super productive.
Yep.
But yes, after lunch, I'm so lethargic that I got to get up and go. I got to do manual labor. Yep. I got to do manual things because my brain is like not super motivated to do it. So I got to stand up and get moving and going. And yeah, it makes a huge difference based on the time of day. But also when we talk about training and things like that, the Buy Here, Pay Here United Summit is coming, Las Vegas in April.
Bellagio.
A
lot of fun.
Yeah, should be a great one. Another great opportunity for dealers to get out, learn about how to work on their business, right?
Again, this is dealers helping dealers. This is a dealer panel put together to design the curriculum. I promise you'll get a lot out of this.
Yeah.
We're going to be there. I'm doing some training. We'll be doing the podcast. You need to be there. I think it's April 9th, 10th through the 11th, something to that effect. At the Bellagio, visit buyherePayHereUnited.com. Get registered. It's actually a super cheap way to go. I mean, the rooms are great price-wise.
April's great in Vegas, and there's going to be a lot of dealers that are like-minded. So yes, if you are in Buy Here, Pay Here, this is the one you come to.
Yep.
You won't get anything else other than just very specific advice. The agenda looks amazing.
Looks amazing. No vendor selling you anything.
Yeah. Just the topics of the breakout sessions are like, yes, that was obviously put together by a dealer.
I'm going to teach you how to get more down.
Yeah. Luke's going to do it. I don't know how, but he's going to figure it out.
It's all about asking, Jeff.
Yeah. Any other takeaways from this week, Luke, that you want to share with everybody?
Well, pay plans are always such a huge topic, no matter if it's on the Facebook forum or if it's us talking or dealers who have every pay plan on the planet. It's always something's broke with your pay plan.
Yeah.
And
continual moving target.
Continual. And it's what motivates people. It's really, when you talk about pay plans, really and truly it's about how can I motivate my people to do what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
And another book I've been reading, Drive, I'm going to try to get this guy on the podcast.
Good luck.
Super intelligent dude. But it's about what drives people. Is it an intrinsic motivation, which is inside you, or an extrinsic, which is money in most parts?
Recognition, fame.
That's right.
Those types of things. Okay.
The reason we do the podcast is extrinsic, right?
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Anyway, so, there's a new movement going on that he deems Motivation 3.0. And it's millennials and it's Gen Zs and all this, that it's possible that money doesn't motivate these people. Now, Gen X is like us. We don't understand that, right? We think that money motivates everything. It's a carrot sitting out there, or the boss with the stick saying, you got to do your job. Or if you do X, you will be rewarded with Y. But the theory is that Daniel Pink talks about is actually the thing that motivates us is inside us. And so one of the quotes he has in there is talking about if your original salary to a person is fair and appropriate for the position they're doing, they will do the work you ask them to do. And so I decided to blow up all my pay plans and actually get rid of them.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't want to have to sit there for 5 or 6 hours the last day of the month or the first day of the month figuring out everybody's bonus and compensation. It is a time suck for me.
Okay.
And I believe if you had a good month and for some reason your recency is 88% instead of 90%, so your collector doesn't get that $500 bonus, well, you just demotivated.
Interesting.
When you have to go, hey, you had a great month collecting, but you didn't hit this number, so you're going to get half of your bonus. So then they go, I don't do that anymore. They stop chasing goals. And so if we just have a scoreboard just sent out every morning that says this is where we got to get to and this is what your pay is going to be, period.
Okay.
So that's what I'm planning to go to. No pay plans. You get a flat salary, and these are the goals we have to hit.
Interesting. And then, of course, I imagine my brain goes a million different directions with that. But with a flat salary, you've got X amount of paid time off or days you have to be there.
Sure.
I don't really understand how salary works. My brain doesn't wrap my head around that because I'm like, well, what's going to keep them from coming in? What's going to keep them from actually working when they are in? If they're just on a salary, it's like everyone's just going to sit around and stare at each other and chit-chat.
Well, that may happen. But they may chit-chat for an hour a day, but they may be working for 7 hours a day. And in that 7 hours, they get all their work done. So who cares if they're sitting around chatting for an hour?
So it's just more babysitting on your end to make sure the work's done and make sure that people are meeting those minimum requirements to keep their job.
With commissions, you still have to make sure people are doing their work.
But it's very evident in their paycheck.
It might be. Or 1 month, 1 month we had a great sales promotion. The salesman didn't work any harder except for signing up deals.
Right.
And he made,
way more
$5,000 more than he did on a month where he worked his butt off.
Same with tax time, right? You're working your butt off, but the sales are definitely kind of flowing because of the season, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It may not work. It may be a total bust, but I'm going to try it.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, I guess it would come to me is that salary has got to be high enough that they know there's a high standard. And I think about that with some of the managers I've hired, like pay them really well and then just hold them to a very high standard because they know that, hey, this guy can find a bunch of people to do this job for this same amount. I'm not doing him any favors by being here. This is actually a great situation for me. I don't want to lose it. So I got to perform to this level.
I think a wise guy told me one day, he said, hey, Luke, why don't you just pay him more money?
You got the money.
Yeah, didn't you
just pay him more. Yeah.
Just pay him more. And, if you want the right person to do the right job, you may have to pay more to get that person than what you're currently paying.
Yeah.
The things you're complaining about today at someone making $40,000 a year, you may not have to complain about that with somebody making $60,000.
I make that. We talked about that a lot this weekend. Of like, hey, you put your ad out there for $15 an hour, and you're getting whoever. $15 You're getting the riffraff. Yeah. That's just minimum wage at the fast food joints. But guess what? If you put it out there at $20. You're going to get a much higher quality applicant for a tiny, it's only a 25% increase. And guess what? You're getting probably 100% more productivity than you would from that $15 an hour guy. So you definitely have to be careful that there's an exponential payoff to having a slightly higher wage that will get you the right person that's more motivated,
more educated.
More I could have two guys at $15 an hour. I'm effectively paying $30 an hour. For one person at 20.
Just think about 25. this. Think about this with technicians. And technicians have been in everybody's thought process this year. Is it worth more to pay someone $35 an hour that knows what they're doing, who doesn't misdiagnose, that gets the job done the first time, or paying two people $25 an hour or whatever that misdiagnoses, hangs the wrong parts, customers are complaining all the time? I mean, I know I want to pay $35 an hour and get it done right.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Luke, this has been a great couple of days. I've really learned a lot. I got a whole page of notes to take home. And again, I mean, we cannot stress the importance enough about being in a peer group, and whether that's an NI8820 group or a Buckeye or any of these 20 MCM with Brett. I mean, there's a lot of great opportunities out there to get educated and learn how to work on your business.
Learning from peers. From other dealers, from people who've done it before, will get you a long way in this industry.
Yeah, people have been there. Don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah, because I made them.
Yeah, come talk to Luke. He's made them all. He'll tell you what not to do.
Well, I just thanks everybody out there for leaving us reviews. We've done a couple of those little consultings.
Yeah, great conversations with dealers out there. We have a lot of fun. So we appreciate your reviews. We appreciate you sharing this with dealer friends, because this is it's about dealers helping dealers.
Dealers helping dealers.
Dealers helping dealers. Please leave us a review and subscribe. The Independent Dealer Podcast.